Welcome to the House of Rugby, brought to you by Joe. I'm joined by my friend, Sean O'Brien. And later on, we'll have Dan Biggar dropping in for a chat. Yep, I'm wearing a ridiculous hat. It's not for charity. I have been split with some stitches here.
Make sure to show everyone.
Yep, I can show everyone because Sean's coming. And my hair's just sticking up because it's entering glued down. So I look ridiculous and I should be in between us.
Hats do not suit
Nothing
you.
Suits me, Shawnee. Luckily, my missus was never going at me for my looks. So moving on.
What was she going
How's your weekend?
What was she going out?
Well, you have to ask her, won't you? How's your weekend,
I will.
mate?
When? Give me your number.
That's just weird. How was your weekend?
I had a great weekend.
Any closer to playing rugby?
Yeah.
Recovering?
Yeah, no, I was training over the weekend.
Nice to see you out
leg
there.
is coming along, so hopefully in the next, won't be this week anyway, but back down a little bit this week and maybe next week or the week after for sure.
Yeah, because you were telling me there's a few people texting you said you should have retired 2 years ago. You got to put them wrong, surely.
Yeah, but I don't really mind what other people say to me. I know what's what.
Oh,
I know what's what.
That's good to hear. I actually saw in the news this week that Tyson Fury reportedly had 2 pints before his fight with Deontay Wilder. Any strange sort of pre-match drinks or food you've ever seen people having?
Not really. Like 2 pints though. It's a strange one. From my own point of view, there was only one time I ever remember playing when I was kind of hungover, half kind of still drunk, when I was under 17s or 18s. I think I was actually I wasn't meant to be playing, and they were short, or there was something going on anyway. So I rocked up in the morning time, the lads were like, "Have you your gear?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm only back in from the night out." I remember about 2 days later, after I played the game, I played pretty well. And after I played the game, I swear to God, I thought a bus was after running over me. I was like, every single part of me was sore and hurt after it.
So what is your day of game routine? Like breakfast? So have you got 3 o'clock kickoff?
Just the day before where I'm carb loading.
I asked you about the day, but okay.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the 2 days because the day of is pretty boring. Day of a game. So the day before is getting the right amount of carbohydrates in that day to have the batteries fully charged for the next day. So that's a lot of food, like 4 to 6 meals the day before.
Any top tips for that? Like bananas, blueberries?
Bananas, smoothies, rice,
Greek yogurt.
Yogurts, get all that stuff. Up the carbs, lower the veg and the
electrolytes as well, hydration.
Proteins and all that, lower that down a little bit. Get loads of that. Hydration, massively key. And then the morning of, I would usually get up roughly at 8:30 it doesn't matter what time kickoff's at on the match day. I'd have my normal breakfast, which would be overnight oats or porridge. Mm-hmm. And I would have like poached eggs, maybe a bit of bacon and 1 slice of toast as well. And that's really me until pre-match, depending on what time the game is at. And then I have usually a bowl of rice pudding, actually. It's my pre-match meal. I don't have bolognese or pasta or anything like that. Because I try to get the day before 100%. I don't need that much food on the day of a game. And I like to feel kind of light and lean going into a game if I can at all. Go out and enjoy the game.
Nice. I mean,
what about you?
Pretty much about bang on 9 o'clock. I'll have gluten-free oats, but with some blueberry or banana.
Gluten-free?
I'll tell you one in a second. And then pre-match, I'll make sure they've got gluten-free pasta. Now, I'm not gluten intolerant, but, not awkward, but sometimes when you have loads of carbs, you can get quite windy. And I found that having less gluten means no wind, and it makes it just feel much more comfortable, not so bloated.
So no fart is what you're saying on the field.
Yeah, I feel great about it. But it just feel more comfortable with it. So nutritionist got me onto it, so I stick by it.
Jeez, I might start doing that myself now.
Have a little look. It does work, I tell you. I'm backing for that. And then, same. But I'm pretty relaxed. I like to go for a walk, as you say, or get some fresh air. Try not to have coffee or any caffeine in the lead up, and then wait till pre-match and then
have coffee. Yeah.
Well, like literally caffeine as before you go out, kind of thing. To leave it to that point.
Yeah, I couldn't. I had to stop taking caffeine because I gave away about 9 penalties one day.
And a red card.
Genuinely, I gave away not 9, but I gave away 4, I think, in the first 15 minutes of the game. I was so wound up. It was the first time those caffeine gums were after coming on the market. I think I had 2, but I didn't realise that one is The big blue
one is the equivalent of like 1 1/3 of a Red Bull. So like you're basically having 2 Red Bulls.
So I had 2
3 Red Bulls,
and I went out on the field and I was completely wired, and I didn't know what was going on like around me. I wasn't like aware of anything. So I said, right, I'll stick to my flat whites before the game and don't have any caffeine come then. So I don't do it anymore now because it just doesn't suit me. I get too wound up.
It's probably for the best. Well, Seanie, it's time for our guest now. It's Wales, Lions and Northampton Saints fly half, Dan Biggar. Dan, how are you?
Good, thank you, lads. How are you?
Yeah, very well. You might be wondering why I'm wearing a hat. I made my first tackle of the year, got caught in a ruck, and I've cut myself open. So it's not a fashion statement. It's just my hair's glued up, straight up in the air, like the in-betweeners.
Stay away from all that tackling malarkey, Goody.
I've tried for many years, but it's finally caught up with me.
The two of you actually you've no marks on your faces or heads. So you're very similar in certain ways, like.
Well, here we go. Here comes your big moment where you can tell how hard you are, how many scars you've had.
I don't have that many scars either.
Oh. You don't have
It's just that you're both fly halves, like, so you're different specimens, aren't you?
We are talented, unlike yourself. What a year you've had! Six Nations Championship winners. Lions tour. Then come back and it's a full house of the Principality. For you, was the highlight going on the Lions tour?
The Lions tour was awesome because you get to meet so many different people, and even though it wasn't probably a traditional Lions tour this time around in terms of the COVID situation and not being, it probably didn't feel like a Lions tour. It felt like you were playing for the Lions, if that makes sense. It felt like you were just playing for the team as opposed to really experiencing the tour. I think the Six Nations was a massive thing for us because we'd come off the back of a really poor autumn the year before, and probably rode our luck a little bit in some of those games, but we were also probably quite unlucky at the end not to clinch a Grand Slam with it as well. So I found the week that actually came out, I spoke to you, Seanie, the week after, I think it was a couple of days afterwards, after the French game, and I'm normally pretty good at sort of getting over defeats or if you haven't played well or tough losses, but I found that game in particular really, really difficult to put to bed and not think about. So I think that would have been a real highlight when you pick up, a trophy at the end of a tough campaign. But I suppose the becoming I suppose a Test Lion was a huge goal for me, which was something that it felt like it was a real tick. I've ticked that box now, which was special, but again, it was disappointing the way it probably came to an end in South Africa.
Biggs, when I went out to Jersey the week you were out there. I was doing a few gigs myself,
making money indoors.
But when I came back here, I was just saying how comfortable you looked and how organised the team was and how sharp you looked.
I felt a lot more comfortable this time around because we'd obviously come off the back of winning the Six Nations. I felt like my form was really good. I felt like I was playing some really good rugby for Northampton in the build up to being named. So I suppose I really felt comfortable in earning that selection. Whereas probably, if I'm perfectly honest, Seanie, 4 years ago in New Zealand, I probably maybe not fortunate to have been selected, but I certainly felt like I probably was relying on a little bit more of what I'd done maybe the previous year. I wasn't in as good a form going into the tour, if that makes sense.
Obviously 4 years beforehand we had an awful lot of fun off the field too, so what do you substitute that with?
Hugh Bennett, the strength and conditioning coach, was actually brilliant. He did organise loads of quizzes, bits and pieces like that. We did we stayed on a golf resort, so golf was, if you didn't play golf, you were in a bit of trouble. Basically, if you didn't play golf and didn't drink much coffee, you were in a bit of trouble. Really, we managed to do really well. We managed to play some golf, put some, a few boys lost a couple of quid on golf rounds and things like that. Hoggy and Faz took a couple of hundred quid off me and Luke Cowan-Dickey, so that was disappointing one afternoon. But yeah, we just generally got on really well in terms of loads of cards. We had a couple of good cards groups as well. Just bits and pieces like that. And basically, anyone who was in Sinks' recovery group would just carry his towels and his robes and things like that, and we do our place with him anyway.
Just a few quick ones then. Who was the best at the quizzes? Who was champ?
Alan Wynne was pretty good. Alan Wynne pretty knowledgeable. Tyke Byrne was good as well. Tyke Byrne was fairly knowledgeable as well. So those two, there wasn't a huge amount behind those two.
Best golfer?
Ooh, I'd say Jamie George would probably be up there.
Oh, he'll be over the moon with that. Over the moon.
Good golfer, is he?
Yeah, he's had a few lessons.
Did he have to get special clubs, mate?
Oh, don't be nasty. Why are you saying he's got special clubs?
How short he is.
No, mate, he's a good ball striker. That's all that matters, okay? And was there anyone who shocked you, like someone you didn't really think you'd get on with, or someone who'd been a nose on the field that you got on well with?
Johnny Hill. I thought Johnny Hill was an absolute legend. Whereas, like, every time I played against him, he must have hit me about 5 times, about 10 seconds off the ball. And I'm just, every single time, I'm like, he's absolutely killing me on the field. And I thought this guy's going to be really hard work. But he was literally an absolute legend from the first day we met up. And really good crack. Boys loved him to bits, actually.
Biggs, any scraps of training at all?
No, we didn't have any scraps, but we had the first, first test where the team was named on like the Tuesday afternoon before the main session on Tuesday, and you know what it's like. Normally, if you're named in the team, you're trying to do everything you can just to get through the session and get through to your day off and for the weekend. And if you're not named in the team, you're looking to try and bash everyone up or take your frustrations out. So Tuesday afternoon before the first test got pretty tasty. A couple of little sort of there was plenty of intensity in the training session. No real scuffles with anybody individually, but it was pretty tasty that Tuesday session.
Nice.
Going on to the autumn then, really difficult for yourself not being able to play that first game against New Zealand. Pretty tough watching, I imagine, for yourself not being able to help the boys. But then for the rest of the series, what did you make of it?
I think obviously it was well documented, Goody, how difficult how difficult the autumn was with obviously the 3 big guns and Fiji. But if you look at the South Africa game, I thought we played really, really well, and we were, we conceded 1 more try in the whole game on a difficult afternoon, which ultimately cost us. So we had a lot of guys out injured as well. So I think for us to win the last 2, even though we didn't play particularly, certainly as well as what we would have liked to have, I think we'll class it as an okay autumn.
Biggs, 2 things. One, I know you missed the first game against New Zealand, and do you think in time that rule will be kind of changed to allow you boys to play against these, like, that's who you want to be playing against, obviously, week in, week out, especially, when it comes to November and you're one of the main boys in there. Like, you were obviously a huge loss that day. Do you think that needs to be changed going forward?
I'd like to think so, Shawnee, because I think, like you said, I know there's an international window and things, but, I've been also really lucky in terms of the club I've signed for and the people, and the director of rugby and Chris Boyd and the guys on the board. They've been willing to help as much as they can, but obviously there's only so much they can do when that law's in place. And I just think that England had a training camp that week as well anyway, where stopped boys playing for their clubs anyway. So it just didn't really seem to make much sense that other boys from other countries couldn't play for their national teams, but the English boys were taken away and they couldn't play either. We had Leicester that weekend, for argument's sake, which was ultimately the biggest derby of the year for us. So I'd like to think it would change, Shawnee, but you never know with obviously things above our pay grade. But you'd like to think some common sense in years to come will prevail. Yeah.
Now I read somewhere that you got different committees in Wales for the team, and you're the kit man. What exactly does that entail? Because surely you have an actual kit man who puts the kit out before the game.
Yeah, we did have so our old kit man retired in the summer, and we used to call him Spider because we'd always find him in the corners hiding in the corners doing nothing. So he was, to be fair, he'd been there for a long time. But my committee is actually the laundry committee, so it tends to be like organising the time with the laundrette for the guys to come and pick up the dirty kit, what time to bring it back if the boys want their suits dry cleaned or things like that. So yeah, it's I've been on it for about 10 years now. Normally they normally give it to like the guys with a couple of caps or new campaigns or whatever like that. But
You just won't give it up. You just want to keep hold of it.
I think the boys. I'm president of the laundry committee is what my title is when it's put up on the board. So yeah, I feel like it would. I feel like that's another reason why I've got to, why I'm getting picked for the squad as well, because they can't find a natural successor for that as well. So yeah, that's probably my biggest role in the squad at the minute. A couple of campaigns ago where the boys came up to me and they said, "Oh, I can't find my shoes anywhere." And I was like, what do you want me to do about your shoes? I'm in charge of the laundry and the suits and things like that. I'm not picking boys' shoes up sort of thing. But
I mean, as if you haven't got enough on your plate, goal kicking, running the team, leading, the backs, doing the plays. You've also got to chase up the laundrette and make sure everyone's kit's turning up on time and suits are there. I mean, blimey, mate, it's a tough gig.
It must be an out-half thing, because I remember like Sexto is big into the laundry as well in Irish camp, and I remember Zeebs and Pete O'Mahony do like kick the bags of laundry around the place, mix them all up. he has to deal with getting them back organised and
I can't imagine you take that well though.
He's okay, and when he's in that environment, he's fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, if someone's lobbing all his laundry around, he's all right with it, is he?
Yeah, he's fine. It's grand and calm, nice and calm.
Yeah. And any other committees then in the Welsh team?
So joke of the day is normally a good one. There was normally the jokes get a little bit close to the bone when certain people. Thomas Williams is good on joke of the day. In fairness to him, proper good jokes there. And then we've got a food committee actually, which surprisingly Tom Francis is head of. So to be fair, they've been probably one of our best committees. They've brought like people in from outside to do we always have like a theme night on a Tuesday evening. So it'd be like a Japanese or Moroccan or Chinese or whatever like that. So we always have that. And then we always have on a Thursday guys coming in from whether it's like a barbecue place doing hog roast or whatever like that for food on Thursday. So they're probably the best committee out of the lot at the minute. They're doing pretty well, especially during these COVID times.
Chicken goujons and chips and peas still pre-match?
Yeah, so we tend to have we do like burger and sweet potato fries, and 4 years ago in 2017, surely we had I think Johnny Sexton looked at the pre-match meal. He thought we were on a holiday camp and he saw burger and chips the night before the game.
Yeah. He wasn't pleased, but he ate it.
So we'll hear more from Dan Biggar later. World Rugby have announced that the eligibility rules have changed for whatever country you want to play for.
Yeah.
What do you make of this? Obviously, it's allowing players who have played for one nation to then move and play for another nation if they were born there, their parents were, or their grandparents in that regard.
I think it's great for the islands.
So for the perhaps lower tier nations or the less financially stable nations, like Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, for example, you think that is great for them, right?
I think it's great for them. I think it's great for them because it'll improve their rugby. It'll generate more publicity to have some of these guys go back. But then on the other hand, I'm not so sure if is it great for other countries. And I know like you kind of say you can't just have them doing it, but it's I don't know, like it's a weird one. But I do think there's positives to come out of it, obviously. But it'll be interesting to see what guys do going forward.
I mean, there's been a lot of talk. You've got Piatau back to Tonga. He hasn't played for New Zealand for a while. Fekitoa back to Tonga. I think Stephen Luatua can play for Samoa.
Yeah.
Alex Zazowski is being approached by Poland. I think it's a good move for him.
Is he actually? I wonder.
Yeah, he's got some Polish in him. Lazowski, I mean, here we are. I think he can actually play for Italy as well. But Poland sevens are very good, so I think he should give it a crack.
There's probably going to be more pluses than minuses out of this whole thing, I think, for rugby in general.
And it is exciting. Like I'm trying to look at both sides of it. I think it is really exciting to see some of these players who get to go to a World Cup, the other side of it, and will be exciting to play for these other nations, and it'd be fantastic. Okay, moving on. I don't know if you saw the comments about Mara Toji from Eddie Jones about going acting classes. What did you make of the whole piece?
I I don't know what Eddie Jones's crack is like. Is he? I don't know. Is he losing his marbles? Maybe. I don't know why he does. Well, first of all, I don't know why he's still like talking about players when he's still managing players, and in the role he's in, and writing books and all this type of stuff. I suppose it's a different way of doing things, isn't it? I think for someone like Maro, though,
Okay, so if you're a player, and Joe Smith says something about that about you, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think you feel fine about it. Like, I don't think you feel too put out by it. I think he obviously, you know what I mean. He's one of the leaders within the team now, and he wants them to probably grow that whole concept, and he's trying to look at different ways of how to get the best out of him. But for me, I think Maro is smart enough, to evolve that way himself.
Having played with Maro, he's brilliant in terms of leadership of the line out. He's brilliant in terms of how he communicates with other players, and he's brilliant in terms of how he plays. It's time now for part 2 of our chat with Dan Biggar. Just going on to your infamous 2015 World Cup kicking routine. How did it start doing the whole sort of Macarena, as it seemed like, the shoulder touch, the hair touch, the left shoulder, right shoulder movement? Where did that start? Because I played against you at under 20s, and I never remember you doing that. So over a period of time, it's obviously changed.
Yeah, I don't really know, Good, if I'm honest. It was just, we had I think just I'm quite fidgety and twitchy anyway. And I think obviously I was sort of like thrown into the goal kicking stage with obviously Harthers going down a couple of weeks before the tournament started. So I suppose I was more conscious of, or maybe a bit more nervous. And I wasn't really conscious of how it was appearing or looking. I just felt in the zone. And obviously then when after the England game in particular, where it went a little bit viral, and I had all my mates sending me like, memes and, YouTube clips and everything like that. And I just said to myself, I'm just so grateful that I managed to knock a few over, because if I'd missed a load of kicks and looked like that, I'd have been doubly disappointed.
Is that something, Biggs? I suppose being a kicker, you're dealing with a lot of pressure every time you step up to kick. How do you shut out the outside? Like, how do you have that laser focus as such? I think the younger viewers would be quite interested in your process here.
Yeah, I think you guys know what it's like. The rugby's such a team game, basically. Without so many parts of the game working, you're struggling to get your part done. But then when you all of a sudden you come to asking somebody to knock a kick a goal over, and it couldn't be more individual, could it? And I suppose that sometimes can weigh on you a little bit, and it certainly has over the years with me on times. You feel like you feel like your team has done all the hard work, and it's solely down to you to reward that. I always found kicking goals from scrum penalties a little bit harder to knock over, because you know that your forward pack are going to be pretty annoyed and pretty disappointed if you don't reward them from 3 points. So I suppose there's a little bit of that element. But I think as well, anybody or any goal kicker who tells you that they don't feel the pressure, or they don't feel the game scenario or the clock or the scoreboard, I think I wouldn't say, I'd say it's impossible to block that out completely, because you're obviously in that moment. But I always tend to just try and back myself with a good hit. If I've hit the ball really well, 9 times out of 10 the ball goes over. So for me, it's about really, really concentrating on just focusing on getting a good hit, because that's when I find you get a little bit edgy and a little bit twitchy when you're on a big kick, or it's a big moment in the game. So I'm always trying to just slow myself down, get a good contact on the ball, and quite often it tends to go over. And I think as well, Sean, a big thing for perhaps some of the younger listeners, as I've got older as well, I've probably become less, whether scared is the right word, but less scared of missing, if that makes sense. Whereas when I was younger coming through, I'd be thinking, right, I've got to kick absolutely everything all the time, no matter what the situation, no matter what the score. Whereas now I think I've relaxed a little bit and thought, you're gonna miss a few kicks. Nobody's gonna kick every kick all year in every game. So you just want to try and nail certainly the big ones and the important moments. So I think that's helped me as well. Just I've not been afraid of missing as well, which has been quite a big thing for me, really.
Yeah.
I think
I was kind of the same when I was under 12s.
Yeah, cheers,
I was
Johnny.
kicking.
Of course you were. With your toe poking it with your little metal steel caps, was it?
Toe fucking it.
Yeah, I bet. Biggs, we've got a few fans' questions here. Antonio Botts has asked, what is the toughest game you've ever played in?
Toughest game, probably the 2019 semi-final against South Africa. I never felt comfortable in the game in terms of really how it was going to go. It was always going to be a pretty close game. You knew that one mistake or one half error was probably going to cost you, and that made you probably play the game slightly differently as well. So I found that game was the tough, and obviously because we came out on the wrong side of it, was really, really tough to get over. But I thought that was probably the toughest game we played, because they were a pretty strong team as well that tournament.
Fair enough. Edward H. Swan has asked, who was the biggest comedian on the Lions tour?
Sinks by a country, not even close. Sinks, he'd get up. We'd have like this boombox and stereo and speaker, and he'd get up on the mic pretty much after every game, every sort of day off we have, and just absolutely, boys would be in stitches on the side just listening to him. You just give him a beer after the game or whatever, and just let him go up there. And it was priceless. He was brilliant. Fair play, Sinks.
Great to hear. Rugby Books for Kids has asked, who was your rugby hero growing up and why?
My hero would have been probably Wilkinson, actually, even though from a young Welsh lad growing up, sort of, that was probably the time I really got into it, when England won the World Cup in 2003. And obviously, I think pretty much everyone wanted to be Johnny Wilkinson at that stage, didn't they? And he would have been probably my hero.
He is a great man. Fraser T has asked, what's the best international stadium to play in apart from Cardiff Principality?
I really like Rome, the Stadio Olimpico in Rome. I think especially when you get we've always tended to play there end of the Six Nations, so the weather tends to get a bit better. We've had a pretty good record there, or you like to think you do.
It's a great day when you score 10 tries.
Sun shining, it's lovely. Dan, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks for joining us, mate, and wish you all the best this season, pal.
Thank you, lads.
Cheers, Biggs.
Awesome to speak to you.
Well, Shawnee, it's now time for Beat the Bomb. It was a heavyweight battle this week. Bomb versus the Beast.
Two big boyos.
I mean, they really are. Bomb was up first. He had 60 seconds to answer as many questions correct as possible. Let's see how he got on. Scotland's heaviest ever defeat came at Murrayfield in December 97. The game finished 68-10, but who were their opponent?
All Blacks?
It was South Africa.
Really? Wow.
Australia hold the record for the biggest winning margin in a Rugby World Cup match. They won by 142 points to 0, but who were they facing?
What's clean off question. Namibia. Oh, was it?
How many times have the All Blacks won the Rugby World Cup?
They were 87. 3.
Who is the Springboks' all-time top try scorer?
Oh, Havana.
Which international rugby team are nicknamed the Pumas?
Argentina.
Who was the head coach of the British and Irish Lions during the 2005 whitewash defeat to the All Blacks?
Sir Clive Woodward.
Which national rugby stadium is known affectionately as the Cabbage Patch?
Twickenham. Oh, England.
Which meant the Beast had to get 6 to win. Chances?
Nah,
That's tough.
tough work.
Who is the Springboks' highest ever point scorer?
Percy Montgomery.
Correct. The 2019 Rugby World Cup was the first to take place in which continent?
In Asia.
Yes. Who scored the only try of the game between Wales and South Africa in this year's Autumn Internationals?
It was Mapimpi.
Malcolm Marks. Who was the referee in the 2019 Rugby World Cup final?
It was. Oh my word.
Pass.
Let's
Pass.
go pass it up.
In what year did Argentina first compete alongside Australia, New Zealand, South Africa in the Rugby Championships?
2012.
Spot on. In which year did South Africa win their first Tri-Nations?
98.
Yeah. Tight. Oh.
Oh, really?
Unlucky beast. You got 4 and you didn't beat the bomb. Next time, maybe.
Nah, it's fine. I'm happy to lose to you, man.
Oh, well. You're a good man. You're a good man.
That's a good effort and very gracious in defeat, to be fair to him.
Yeah, I still think I'm the one that ran him closest, aren't I?
No, you did do well, but at the same time, you had the same questions. I was quite bitter that I had a different set of questions, which even Bomb admitted that were much harder.
Sour
so
grapes again.
I am sour.
Yeah.
Sour, what can I
grapes
say?
again tonight.
So it's my favourite time of the week, Shawnee. It's Good Week, Bad Week. And this week's Good Week goes to Ed Howley of Bridgend Ravens. One of the best tries you'll ever see. Watch this.
It's absolutely outrageous.
Shawnee, you can only dream of this. Look at this. Left foot, whacks it up.
Get it on the head, right?
On the head, son. And then casually just picks up. You know what?
This is the part I don't like now.
What?
He went a bit far with this.
Oh, okay. Well, Shawnee, you know what? You can do what you want when you score a try like that.
You can,
It's
to be
also
fair.
the clincher that, like, it mattered this game. Big game, and he's got the match-winning try. Unbelievable.
It was a serious piece of work. Unbelievably quick thinking, I have to say.
And Shawnee, who gets this week's Bad Week?
This week's bad week is the poor fella who lost his shirt in the
What's his
Canadian Championship. I don't know his name. Watch this. Middle of the
warm.
snow, no shirt on. Not a bother on him though.
Oh, he's got some shorts on. I didn't even see the shorts then for a second.
Puts it back on. Cover your eyes, they say.
I tell you what, I give him credit because how many people are wearing skins at the moment? And it's whether not like that.
No skins there. And the other thing is, no lines in the field. Probably shouldn't have been played.
No, it shouldn't, but the commitment and just got on with it.
That was brilliant.
Yeah. And who's in the sin bin for you this week, Sean?
The sin bin this week goes to none other than Stuart Hogg for his unbelievable photo on his budgie smugglers. Probably he's delighted with himself here.
He's quite happy.
Jack Noel seems very, very happy with this.
What I would say is it's quite amazing. He's managed to shave, it looks like, all his hair off his body, except for the hair just above the old trunks. I mean, he'd fit in well in Japan.
He probably
It's a bit of a,
probably
bit
got
of
the
a bush
laser.
there, isn't
Probably
it?
got the laser done, did he?
I don't know. I don't know that
He got
well.
the hair transplant. Maybe he got the hair.
The full works, is it?
Full works.
You just missed out on the old bush. As I said, very Japanese that. Well, that's all we got time for, Shawnee. It's great seeing you. Big thanks to Dan Biggar for joining us and giving us a big insight into Wales and British Lions camp. You can find us on Joe YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts from. This has been the House of Rugby, brought to you by Joe.